We are making choices to not manage our forests and see them, facing catastrophic events like this fire at Salt Creek. At the same time, unloading ships with products from foreign countries that are not friendly to us, Russia, China.
We hear so much about sustainability, buying local, staying away from imports when you can grow it right here, and putting local people to work.
The people that work in the woods for us have been here for multiple generations. They want to see healthy forests. They want to be able to continue making a living working in the woods just like their dads did, just like their grandfathers did, and help hold together the fabric of the communities that they were brought up in. And that's all at risk when we allow a very small, radical percentage of our population to dictate forest policy.
The Northwest is known around the world for its gold standard when it comes to growing trees, harvesting them, and taking care of the environment.
The forest practices that we do on our federal lands in the Northwest United States, our state lands and our private lands, they're recognized all over the world as second to none. We have massive demand for wood products that today is being met through harvests in Russia and imports of wood products into the Northwest.
So we have the product here, we harvest it in a more sustainable and environmentally stable manner, and yet we don't cut our own timber and instead buy it from countries that have much lower standards.
Gold standard is sustainably produced for the long term, manufacturing products that do all the things that we need, primarily to promote good, livelihoods for our rural communities and provide shelter for our families, and limit our use of wood products from other countries that do not have the same environmental practices.
Harvest levels are cut by politicians and anti-timber groups. Fire, lawsuits, and courtrooms have become the forest managers.
So we have judges that are continually ruling in favor of very radical positions that are anti-timber, and the consequences are severe for environmental consequences on other continents.
Mills are closing all over the country, putting people out of work, destroying rural communities, and leaving our local forests to burn with the next lightning storm.
We have to understand that a choice we make here to not manage this forest, release all this carbon in this catastrophic fire, is going to have a negative impact. And conversely, we're going to bring wood products in where the negative impact is exponentially compounded.
Fighting fires on public land is less about putting out the fire now and more about trying to manage the fire.
The fire had came up this ridge with pretty good intensity and was burning up the hill. The sun went down and it dropped to the ground. So we deployed a cat to this exact point right here.
In July of this year, a fire started near Eagle Point, Oregon, down by Medford. The hired firefighters had clocked out for the day, but this fire was climbing the mountain, heading for private timberland owned by Murphy Company and others.
And so we had to sit here. Snags were on fire. Most of them are on the ground, I see now. And this was really a tough place.
Murphy Company responded with the Oregon Department of Forestry and worked through the night to get control of that fire.
There was no intent to go direct on this from any of the other resources outside the Murphy Company resource. Our property line for our timberland is a little over a half mile from right here. And we knew if we got up this ridge and got into the next basin, it would have burned the whole thing out.
They got out the bulldozers and went to work. Eventually, they stopped the fire because they worked through the night and early morning.
We need, the agencies to continue to aggressively pursue these opportunities where, again, this was what firefighting looked like for the last, 70 of the last 100 years.
Knox says the agencies today tend to watch longer and decide later, when he thinks with the current condition of our forests, aggressive initial attack is called for. The federal land needs to be managed, but when bids go out, anti-timber groups file suit, tying up restoration in the courts for years. And then this happens.
I don't believe the litigants care. They just assume see it burn now. That's the feeling we continually get. They want nature left to its own devices. So no human impact, no forest restoration, no commercial harvest. Let the fire burn. Let Mother Nature take its course. We absolutely believe that is the wrong approach.
And so do a growing number of people who live and work around the area where these fires are striking. Marshall says a change in direction is needed now.
Say between June 20th and September 15th, our only opportunity to prevent catastrophic fire is initial attack and put it out immediately. This was standard operating procedure for most of my life until it started to go into more of a, fallback approach. And we need to go back to, storm the beach approach.
It just doesn't make sense. We need wood products. Our gold standard is better than anywhere else in the world. Timber is sustainable, it's renewable, and it's solar powered.
It's the buy local, push that we see in agriculture. Buy local. Do you want to truck tomatoes from South America to the United States, or do you want to grow them with your local farmers? Do you want to support local communities, local economies, everything? So all we're talking about is maintaining and managing the forest to support our infrastructure and our rural communities, the few that exist that are left.